On this journey that I've been on and the journey that you guys have been on, that I've been talking and working with you, I've come to the conclusion that the hardest part about semen retention is the first 7 days. Now, it's not only just the first 7 days, but there's more to that. What we're going to talk about today is how we can beat those first 7 days. And then once we start getting some momentum, what can we do to make sure that we are becoming the better or best version of ourselves in the future? But before we get into that, understand this. It's cardio time. Let's go ahead and get that cardio while we do this. So listen, like I said, and like I've worked with a ton of you guys by now, the first 7 days is the hardest. And it's simply because you have to create more momentum in the opposite direction of where you're going. See, most guys, when they get on semen retention, what happens is they've reached this point now that they're at rock bottom. Beforehand, and let me know if this is familiar to you, what happens is you were addicted to cheap dopamine. You were addicted to being comfortable. You were addicted to feeling good all of the time. So if that was dirty movies, if that was video games, if that was social media, what ends up happening is all this negative food that you're eating, your diet, not exercising, you're creating this momentum. So imagine that we have a bucket of water, right? And we take a stick and we're moving it in one direction. And the more that we're doing it, the more that we're doing it, the more that we're doing it, what ends up happening? You start creating a whirlpool. You start creating momentum in your life to the point that even if you decide to stop, it's still going to carry you and keep pushing you. And many men, especially before they get on semen retention, they are in this cycle. Some of you guys have been spinning this cycle for years. Okay. And so you have to keep that in perspective, because whenever you stop, you're going to keep going. It's going to feel like you have no control. But what's happening is you are following the momentum that you created. So once you stop and once you hit that rock bottom point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you realize that you have to turn this around. But guess what happens? Not only do you have to stop, you have to apply force in the opposite direction. Well, that's hard enough as it is. And it's simply because all of that energy that you've created is now pushing against you. So this is what leads to guys trying and failing. But again, because they lack that perspective, what ends up happening is they either give up or they think it's not for them. When the reality is you have to keep pushing, fail, keep pushing, fail, keep pushing, fail, keep pushing, fail, because that momentum, what we're doing, instead of speeding it up, is we're slowing it down. And once we are able to slow it down and come to a complete stop, then we're able to move it in the opposite direction. But again, those first 7 days, why it's so difficult, why it's so hard, is simply because you have to stop the momentum of where you are going. And so understand that. So now that we understand that the hardest part is stopping the momentum and pushing it in the other way, how can we make sure that we're pushing it in the other way? That way our life goes up, our life ascends. We start becoming a better version of ourselves, the best version of ourselves. That falls into exactly what I teach on this page, which is understanding that you have to have a vision for your life. When you have a vision for your life, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to pull goals from your vision. When you pull goals from that vision, you're going to ask yourself, am I the person right now that is able to complete those goals? If the answer is no, then we have to go on the personal development and the self-improvement journey. And those journeys are actually very simple, a lot more simple than people realize, because what you're doing is you're understanding in order to complete certain goals, you have to have certain habits. So for an example, if you're a person who doesn't work out, right, the way that you're going to start developing yourself and start improving yourself is to start picking up healthy habits. Like, of course, what I'm doing right now, which is walking. Okay. Now that I said that, I'm going to turn it up one more. Right. And again, once you start walking, then you might start weightlifting. Then you might start replacing certain foods. Then you might start replacing certain drinks. Right. It's all about building out the health momentum. That way you can start going in the opposite direction. But here's the thing. When guys want to make this change in their life, they think that they're going to go from eating junk food to never eating junk food again. That's an extreme. That's not realistic. The realistic aspect of this part, the boring aspect of this part, is you're going to be operating, instead of operating at 10%, because 90% was junk food and bad shit, and then 10% was the good stuff. You're going to have to increase that from 10% to 20% to 30% to 40% to 50%, and to hopefully get to the point to where you're doing more health conscious things than more things that are holding you back. So you're going to have to reach that 60% point, where 60% of the things that you do during the week or during the month is all health conscious stuff. That's the thing that nobody talks about. People make it seem like if you're not at 100%, you're a fucking failure. And that's not true, because this is a dog fight. This is a fight. And so what's happening is you're going on a plane. And so every time you go negative, you're going negative, you're going negative, then you go positive, you go positive, you go positive, negative, and then negative, and negative, positive, positive, negative, positive, positive, negative. And so what the game for us is, we have to make sure that we're doing positive, 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 negative, negative, positive, positive, positive. So we have more of an upward trend. So again, we have to have a vision for ourselves. The best way to categorize this vision, as I ask you, I say, what do you want when it comes to your health? What do you want when it comes to your wealth, your income, your savings, your investments, your business? What do you want with these things? What do you want when it comes to your wealth? What do you want when it comes to your overall purpose? And again, this can be very difficult to figure out at first. A cheat code that a lot of people aren't going to tell you is you could go on ChatGPT and ask it to give you ideas. What are some health goals that I should aspire to? And it's going to spit out a list. And then you should pick one and be like, you know what? I would like to be in shape. I would like to be able to run a mile. I would be able to like to eat more health conscious food. I would be able to, instead of eating junk food, eat more fruits and vegetables. I would be able to do that, right? Same thing for wealth goals. Same thing for relationship goals. Same thing for your purpose goals. These are the things that you have to figure out first. And this is why exactly you need a journal. If you don't have a journal, you're not in the game. If you don't have a journal, you're not in the game. If you don't have a journal, you're not in the game. If you don't have a journal, you're not in the game. You need a journal, because you have to write all this stuff out in your journal. And so a lot of guys, you come on my page, and I've been reading the comments. A lot of guys say, hey, I know this is called masculine development. When do we get to the masculine part? This is the masculine part. You having a goal for yourself, understanding where you are, and going from point A to point B. Because in order for you to get to point A to point B, it's going to take consistency. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take hard work. All of these things are masculine qualities. And so by you doing these things and taking it seriously, that's important. Taking it seriously, that's going to immediately increase that masculine energy that you have. Because that's what masculinity is all about. Understanding that you have a place to be, and you're getting there and not getting distracted by outside forces. You have a frame that you're going to maintain, and anybody who's trying to break your frame or get in the way of the frame is now an enemy. They now are a person that does not deserve my time, attention, and energy. And most guys are not able to hold this frame simply because you are allowing people to lead your life. You are no longer the leader of your own life. And there's nothing masculine about you not being the leader of your own life, especially when you want to be the leader of your own life. So understand that once we have the vision, then we have the goals. So if my vision is I have a six-pack, what goal can I prove from that? And again, if this is too hard for you intellectually, there's no shame in that. Just go ask ChatGPT. Listen, I want a six-pack. What are some goals that I should have in order to obtain that? This is my current body weight. And it's going to tell you. AI is an amazing thing. So don't feel shameful because you don't know these things. Just go get help. Okay? And then once you understand the vision that you have, you understand the goals that you should be chasing, those goals are going to require certain actions that you do every single day. We call these habits. You have to start adopting these habits. And so once you adopt these habits, you're going to have to put them into a routine. Let me get I don't know if you guys can see this. I have to cover up the bottom here. It's just future video stuff, and I don't want you guys to see it yet. But you guys can kind of see that right here, right? That's my routine. The moment I get off of this, I'm following the next step. And after that step, I follow the next step. All of these actions that I've written down that's a part of my routine is going to help me accomplish my goals, which is going to help me accomplish my vision. That's the game. And so what you have to do is you have to wake up and realize that you've been following somebody else's vision your whole life. Nobody sat you down and said, what did you want for your life? Right? And when you wake up as a man, you're like, wait a minute, I'm in charge of me. I can lead me. I don't have to follow his vision. I don't have to follow his plan. Now, again, I'm not saying that they have bad visions or bad plans, but what I've realized is they never consulted me with what I want. And so because of that, usually their visions aren't for me, but they still want me to work for them, or they still want me to help build their vision, or they need my time, attention, and energy. And being a man is realizing that you're in control of your own time, attention, and energy, and you want to invest it into yourself. You want to invest it into your family. You want to invest it into your community, and you want to invest it into your culture. This is the game. And so everything else is a distraction. So if you don't have a notebook, first of all, you're not in the game. You're not even playing. If you don't have a vision, you're not in the game. If you don't have goals, you're not in the game. If you don't know the actions or the habits that you're taking, you're not in the game. And so if you don't have these things at all in your life, you have to figure these things out first. Because this is the reason why we're on semen retention. We're not on semen retention for streaks. Streaks are cool, right? When you're first starting, when you have problems with these things, streaks are amazing. But you got to understand something. The reason why the majority of us are on semen retention is because we had addictions. We were not at base level. Being on semen retention puts you as base level. And when you're at base level, you have to ask yourself, okay, well, what's next? What am I doing now? And this is the game that you've been missing out on your whole life. This is why a lot of guys can't go outside and approach women. That's base. Being able to go outside and meet somebody, that's base level. And the fact that you replace that with something else, you then realize that this was negative, got on semen retention, and now you're back to base level. So now you have to work on the thing that you haven't been working on this whole time. Same thing with money. Same thing with your body. And so now you have to start a war with yourself, because the old version of yourself is unprepared. The old version of yourself doesn't want you to succeed, because the old version of yourself wants to survive. But we don't want to live the life that the old version of us has. We don't want to live that life anymore. We want to improve. And in order to improve, you have to be a completely different person, a more improved person. Self-improvement is the process of you being a better version of yourself. And so you have to be a better version of yourself. Does that make sense? So again, I gave you the plan. First things first, get a journal. Second thing second, figure out a vision that you want for your life. The vision has 4 categories, at least the ones that I can give you. You can make up any vision that you want, but just for the beginners, you have your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your purpose. If you don't know how to accomplish a vision or goals for these things, ask ChatGPT. Once you have these things, again, ask ChatGPT, what are the habits, what are the actions that I have to do on a daily or weekly basis in order to achieve those goals? Once you figure that out, make a routine for you to follow. That routine should be number 1 priority in your life. Not your bills, not your job, not any of these other things. That should be you being the best version of yourself, should be the number 1 priority that you have in your life. Why would you give somebody else your power? Why would you give somebody else your time, attention, and energy? Especially when that person doesn't care whether you become a best version of yourself or not. And the goal that you have for yourself is to become the best version of yourself. Listen, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to make you think, so you can understand, so you can ask yourself questions. Am I really where I want to be? Is this who I want to be? Is this person in support of me? And once you realize that you're going in the opposite direction, you have to start cutting things off and start moving in the opposite direction. You have to start changing the flow of the momentum. So listen, that's going to be today's video. If you like the video, like the video. If you made it this far, type in the comment section, made it. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. All right. Peace out.